What up, y'all? Welcome to Hotepish Intelligent
Ish with your host, Dwan B. Intelligent Ish Talk, Intelligent Shit Talk, where we balance the profound with the profane. Political satire, celebrity and expert guests, information and entertainment, conversation and solutions. Leave your feelings at the door.
Ish Talk, Intelligent Shit Talk. I just turned my mic up so y'all adjust y'all volume. I want to make sure I'm not hitting that red so I'm not topping out. I want to give y'all good sound quality. Good sound quality. Because it's harder than a motherfucker to give y'all good sound quality when I'm doing interviews, because you can't control the whole board over the phone, man. But here on my computer, I can at least give you good quality sound when I'm by myself. How y'all doing? Got somebody from Seaside, California? What's up, Evan? What's up, Ian? What's up, Jason? What up, Run It Up? Dang, somebody jumping in with the questions already. Shit. Exactly. How does this help with the reparations discussion? Nigga, you go explain that shit on your channel if that's what you want to talk about. God damn. I'm over here. All I got is a title to the show. And I got somebody jumping in the questions already. How does this help with the reparations discussion? Shut the fuck up, sit back and listen. God damn it, maybe I might get there. Damn. And if I don't get there, you go on your page. You obviously got a YouTube channel you hear. You go on your page and discuss whatever angle you want this to take. God damn, some of y'all. What's up, Dr. Sinister? What's up, Dashay? What's up, 3J? What up, Midi A? DeAndre Mosley? How y'all doing today? Yeah. We are here. We are here. What y'all in the chat room talking about? What's up, Monique? Got Greensboro, North Carolina in the building. Yo, yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about Greensboro. Y'all Geechee motherfuckers down there. Oh, no, not in Greensboro. They look Geechee look further in, out to the coast. But, oh, are they by Greensboro? I've been in Greensboro, North Carolina one time. Raleigh, North Carolina, I've definitely been there. Flew in to that Raleigh-Durham airport when I spent a week, well, almost a week, in Rocky Mount. Yeah. Sacramento tapping in. Victorville, god damn. Muskegon, Michigan. It's Muskegon natives up there. Dark-skinned folks. He said Victorville tapping in. Victorville is some place that I've never stayed, but I've driven through plenty of times on the way to Vegas. It's never been somewhere I've stayed. Victorville's that place, that hot ass place. You know what I mean? You get out on the way to Vegas. I remember back in the day when we used to go to Vegas all the time when I used to go with my parents. I remember back in the day, Victorville was that place that you stopped at. That was that one In and Out, because it wasn't that many In and Outs in LA back in the 80s, in the early 90s. So you had to hit up In and Out on your way to Vegas. And so we stopped at that one in Victorville. Or the one in Barstow. That's all it was on the way to that was like the only time we got In and Out back in the 80s, back in the early 90s, on the way to Vegas. We lived in South Central LA. They didn't have no goddamn In and Outs nowhere near South Central LA. Hell, they damn near still don't have no In and Outs in South Central. But back then it was scarce. Yeah. What's up, Nikki? Yeah, South Central tapped in. That's right. Atlanta. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about Black, Indigenous, American roots. And I'm not going to spend, I've talked about this subject a lot. So this isn't really, I'm going to be going over things that I've said before. I'm not going to introduce too much new. But I do want to kind of do this Q&A style, like how I do my Q&As when I'm in my garage. You know, sort of, I'm going to talk a little bit, and then I'm going to see what y'all talking about in the chat room. I'm bringing this up because I'm bringing this up because Kamala. I'm not gonna say Kamala. I'm over here thinking about the Indian Kamala Harris. Well, you know, but speaking of that, Kamala and Joe, they're trying to push the immigration thing on Black people. And it's easy for Black people to fall for that mistake when we don't quite know who we are. Well, Kwame Brown, he's been talking a lot about he's Geechee. I'm Geechee. Geechee this, Geechee that. And I think a lot of people are missing the point when he says that. You know, who are the Geechee? The Geechee Gullah. These are indigenous mixed with African Black Americans. When you do research on the Geechee, in a lot of, especially if you just keep your research online and don't go to the books, the online research, whether you go through History Channel or Wikipedia, they're going to tell you this was a group of former slaves. This is a group of Africans who came together. They're not going to tell you that these people, most of them, were on this land hundreds, thousands, thousands of years before the slave trade. They always try to frame stuff with us black folks as if everything started with slavery. They always want to do that. And we have to understand that our history doesn't start here in America in slavery. I keep bringing this up because I want to keep this point alive, because I think, although a lot of us black people are waking up to the fact that we didn't all come through slavery, that narrative gets pounded in us so much over and over and over and over again, we can sometimes tend to forget. And we sometimes, fall for their narrative. You see? We got to keep it up there. So when we sometimes, like I said on my last broadcast, we sometimes get caught up in, I'm from Chicago. I'm from the ghetto. I'm from the Bronx. I'm from South Central. I'm from East Oakland, or wherever. Most of us, especially when we call out these big cities, we're calling out places that we've migrated to most of the time and sometime in the last 100 years. The great migrations that went on during the early 1900s because of work. We're talking about places that we've had to relocate to after, whether economically or physically, being pushed off our indigenous lands. Not to say that there aren't indigenous black people in those cities. Hell, Chicago was founded by John D. Sable. I can't pronounce that shit. Y'all go look him up, nigga. Shit. They say he was Haitian, but he was also respected as an elder in some of the local tribes. So even the Haitian part of him is in question. Well, it's not in question, because one thing, a lot of times you'll see people from, especially if you see people that came from Haiti or the Caribbean in the 1800s, they don't tell you that there was a lot of black people during the 1800s that went down to Haiti after the Haitian Revolution and then got forced to come back to America. That's a little known part of history that they don't talk about. There was always a migration between the Caribbean and Black America that at different points in history got shut off and then reopened. But Jean de Sable, he's founded Chicago because he knew the native languages of the people in the area. And the people in the area trusted him because he'd been around and he knew their languages. So it's not as if black people weren't already in Chicago at some point. We know Los Angeles was founded by a lot of by Spanish black folks. That was in the original foundation of Los Angeles. We know that New York, we know that Central Park was Seneca Village, a place where black folks who were from indigenous and also migrated there during the 1800s lived. We know that the Algonquin people were in the upper Northeast. They were all dark skinned. We know that. We understand that. We understand that, Rikers Island was created to capture and enslave indigenous black people that were freely walking around. They would put them in Rikers Island, put no charges on them, and make them work, and then create some fucking charges and sell them off down into slavery down south. That's what Rikers Island was used for. So I'm not saying this to say there weren't already black people in these areas. What I'm saying is during the Great Migration, that's when a lot of black people went from the south to the north and to the west in pursuit of jobs. But it's a lot of people, a lot of those people were enslaved and a lot weren't. Not every black person was enslaved, although they still had to deal with the laws of the land as they may. Like it was a threat. That's why a lot of black people did have to move to the north. As a matter of fact, my family history, we wrote a book. Well, not me, but luckily I had a cousin that taught at the University of Indiana who wrote a book on my family's legacy and lineage out of North Carolina, migrating to Indiana, then to Michigan, all because they were black. But, slavery was getting to the point to where if you was basically got caught walking down the street, they kidnap your ass and sell you off into slavery. That's what the original slave catchers were. They try to tell you slave catchers were just here to catch runaway slaves. No. That was part of their job. The other part of their job was to catch random free black people, free indigenous black people, kidnap them, and sell them off into slavery. That's why when my family moved to Indiana, they bought land within Amish country, 900 acres. They bought that land within Amish country because the Amish didn't play slavery. And so the Amish, the settlement my family had in Indiana, just about 100 miles outside of Naptown, they had that with the protection of the Amish. Why did they need the Amish protecting them? Because if a black person was caught walking by themselves, these slave catchers, these good old boys, would come and just literally kidnap them. And that's how they got paid. They would kidnap black people, take them across the border down into Kentucky, and sell them off into slavery. That was a whole industry these white boys had during slavery. They only tell you about the side where they caught runaway slaves. Yeah, that's partially what they did. The other part was they just caught random black people minding their own fucking business. That's what that movie 12 Years a Slave was trying to teach you. I don't recommend, you don't have to watch the whole movie. I get it. 12 I don't like watching slave movies either. I think 12 Years a Slave was the last slave movie that I did watch all the way through. But that's what they were that's what they were telling you right in front of your face without telling you. See, these movies that tell you without telling you. If you can remove your emotion to the side, you can learn some things. Random black man that played the violin get caught up, roughed up, and sold off into slavery and was a slave for 12 years. Until he got the fuck up out of there. That's what they were trying to tell you. So it's a lot of these things. Like one thing America does with our history, they lie through omission. You're right, Walter Johnson. A lot of the Indians helped. And I'm going to get into that when I get into the Yamamisi War. I'm going to get into that part when I get into the Yamamisi War, 1715 to 1717. Because one thing that the European did to get to where he got was through divide and conquer. These Indians versus those Indians. Using one against the other. Paying one more than the other. So, one thing about how they do us with our history, they lie through omission. They tell you a half-truth because the only way anything in life is going to stick is if it has truth in it. Let me say that one more time. The only way anything in life when someone's trying to sell you on some bullshit, the only way you're gonna buy the bullshit is if the bullshit has an element of truth. There's always truth within bullshit. Remember that. Well, let me take it back. There's always truth within effective bullshit. There's always truth within effective bullshit. Give me my credit when you take my quote. And that's for some of you niggas listening online. Somebody tagged me in somebody's shit. I forgot who it was. But they trying to say there are no perfect messengers, only perfect messages quote. Now I got niggas on other sites saying that shit. At least shout me out, motherfucker, if you gonna say it. I got that one right there in a meditation with my ancestors. That's where I got that quote from, in meditation. Ancestors gave that one to me. But anyway. You have to have truth. Oh, Katu is already through the trademarking process. I'm already ahead of you, my brother. When I get the official paperwork, I'll show you. But you have to have truth. You have to have truth within whatever bullshit you're going to give someone if you're going to be effective with your bullshit. So what they do is they tell you, these Geechee people have their own culture, damn near their own language, their own way of eating, but they were former slaves. Huh? Huh? How do you have your own way of eating, your own way of talking, your own spiritual systems out of slavery? Part of slavery is to take and strip your culture completely and make you subscribe to the dominant culture. If these people weren't enslaved in the United States, see, in the Caribbean, you kind of got to keep your culture, but in the United States of America, especially South Carolina, you weren't allowed to keep shit. So how they slip that lie in on us that quick? How can you maintain culture, but you were enslaved? And you got here in slavery from Africa? The fuck? Wasn't the whole purpose of bringing us from Africa to break us and disconnect us from our cultural roots? So how were these people over here able to maintain all that stuff and the rest of us not able to? We got to ask these questions. Yeah, get the likes up, family. We got 135 in here, 70 likes. Get them likes up. The thing is, I'm using the Gullah Geechee as an example because they've been, Kwame's been saying their name a lot. So a lot of people, him saying these Geechees going over a lot of people's head. So I'm using them as an example, but they were definitely not the only ones. By far. You got Choctaw down in Louisiana right now that never left their indigenous land. You got Creek in Alabama right now that never left their land. I was talking to my wife's family, her uncles and stuff, and they were talking about how, yeah, when them Trail of Tears came, they family was like, yeah, no, fuck your Trail of Tears. We're staying. And they stayed. And there were a lot of black people who were labeled, who rejected the Indian or Native American title so they wouldn't have to go to Oklahoma. So they stayed in Alabama. They stayed. That was one of the tricks. One of the tricks to not get marched off your land was to re-register as a Negro instead of indigenous. Everybody didn't leave during the Trail of Tears. A lot of them niggas stayed. I encourage you to look up your own family history and see what you did. I'm sure y'all got some dope ass family history if you look close enough. I'm sure it's gonna be some of your family history be like, my uncle did what? Great granddaddy said that? What up, Emmanuel? He just got notification. What's up? Oh, what's up, Star in the chat room? Yes. Our history isn't as monolithic as they try to make it seem, man. They tell you we came from Africa. That's true. But when you look at their records, only about 400,000 came from Africa. I saw that shit when I remember I took a U.S. history class when I was in Santa Monica College, Santa Monica Junior College. That's where I was before I got went off to Cal State Northridge. But I'll never forget, I took that class and we were talking about American history. And they said, yeah, America only officially imported about 400,000 people from Africa. And I was like, well, what about everybody else? And the teacher kind of, I didn't see at the time, I didn't know this about my family history. I was disconnected from my family ancestral history, and I was disconnected from black history circa 2001, 20 years ago, when I took this class. I didn't know none of this shit. But it always stayed in my mind, okay, because I'll never forget, that was like on the multiple choice test. They were like, who got the least amount of slaves from Africa? It was like Mexico, Haiti was on the list, some other country in the United States. And the United States had the least amount. I was like, God damn. Another thing I'll tell you about is the Intraslave Trade. There was also a slave trade back and forth between the Caribbean and the United States. Sometimes they would capture free black people and sell them off into the Caribbean. Or other plantations down south. So, yes, black people did come from Africa. But not all of us. Again, lies of omission. put a super highlight on this small part of the truth and talk about it over and over and over again as if it's the only truth. That's how they lie through omission. We got to remember that. So when Kwame goes around talking about he's Geechee, these are people, when someone knows, see, there's a lot of people who don't know who they are in this country. And I get it. It took me a while to find out too. But when you're dealing with somebody who knows who they are, and you're talking about a group of people like the Geechee and the Gullah, these cats still live on their ancestral land. When he say from Brunswick, Georgia, that's on Geechee land. I know that gentrification is going on, and they're trying to push a lot of the Geechee off Geechee Island and other parts. They've always done that. The white supremacists, as long as they're around, they're gonna keep trying to do that. But a majority of these cats are still holding on. They're still there. They're still connected. And they live by their own code. You feel me? No different than there's still indigenous black people up in the Buffalo, New York area that still hold on. People that's part of the former Iroquois Confederacy, nations of tribes. Six nations? We've been here. Yeah, the Black Seminoles in Florida. You're right. Those are people that were pushed down. Some Geechee, some Gullah, some former enslaved indigenous blacks, some Africans, all down into Florida that fought them Seminole Wars. Well, one thing I want to point out, going back to what we were talking about earlier, one way the white supremacists have gotten control of this land is through divide and conquer. Playing one indigenous tribe against the other. Because just because we was here don't mean we all got along. It's like anything else. I don't like them niggas on the other side of the river. We see this shit right now. People from Jersey don't like people from New York. People from the Bronx don't like people from Brooklyn. People from Inglewood don't fuck with niggas from South Central. Niggas from Pasadena don't fuck with niggas from Arcadia. Niggas live 6 blocks away. And some artificial barrier is up there because of a main street. And because I live on this side of a main street that white folks created, and you live on that side of a main street that white folks created, we don't get along. Same shit. At least back then, they argued over natural borders that white folks weren't involved in. Man, fuck them niggas that live up in the mountains. Who in the hell they think they is? They think they better than us because they got a TP on top of a mountain? Fuck them. Man, fuck them niggas that live over in Malibu, man. You think you the shit because you got beachfront property? Man, fuck them tribes that live on the plains. Old plain head ass niggas walking around, don't even dress right with them little funky ass moccasins. I beat your ass with your bow and arrow, nigga. Man, fuck them niggas who live in the swamp. Old gator tooth bastards. That's why your teeth fucked up. You old alligator mouth bastards living up in swamps. Living up in the great dismal swamp. You swamp face bitch. Niggas is doing the same thing back then. Man, fuck the niggas that live up in the trees. You old treehouse ass motherfucker. Who the hell you think you is with a treehouse? You think you better than me? You think you better than me because I live down by the river and I fish? You eating birds, I'm eating fish, motherfucker. Let's fight. That's always going on. And when the Europeans first got here in the 1500s, on the East Coast at least, they was see the Europeans, the Spanish was on the West Coast with these Asiatic Indians, the Indians that came about 2,000 or 3,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago across the Great Bering Strait from Mongolia. Those sets of Indians, when the Spanish got here, they came on that side. Because a lot of them Mongoloid style Indians were warring with a lot of the native darker black Indians. The Mojave were dark skinned here in LA. I mean, in LA, in California. The Ohlone were dark skinned. But they were always at war with the Asiatic from Mongolia, who had just arrived as immigrants across the Great Bering Strait. So the Spanish kind of came to the west side through Mexico. Because when they try to come to the east, they got their lunch handed to them. Yeah, Florida was a Spanish territory, but you didn't see no Spanish motherfuckers living in Florida. One, it was too hot, they burned to death. Two, them natives would beat they motherfucking ass. So they left Florida alone for the most part. And then when the Anglo-Saxon, the England Europeans started to come in the 1600s, they would get waxed a lot then too. But then they started to see that, okay, these niggas don't necessarily get along like that. So how about we make treaties with some of these motherfuckers? And through our treaties, use that to divide these motherfuckers up and kill them off. I encourage you guys to look up the Yamasee War. Yamasee War. Happened down there in South Carolina. The year 1715 to 1716. The Yamasee War not only had indigenous, it also had brothers from the Moorish Empire. Morocco, cats that now identify as Moors, were in that war too. And these indigenous and Moorish black people was beating the dog shit out these white folks. I mean, waxing their ass. How did these white folks eventually overcome and win that war? What did they do? They went to the Cherokee Nation and they told the Cherokee, hey, look, these niggas is beating our ass, all right? So we'll stop fighting you. We'll leave you alone on your land, Cherokee people. We won't encroach your land. But we want what these niggas got down in South Carolina. So if you help us out, we're going to give you guns, the same shit they doing right now. What do they do when they come into the ghetto? They give out guns. All through the 80s. What did they do? They dropped guns, crates of guns all throughout the ghetto. What do they do now when they go to Iraq? When they go to Iran? When they go to Libya? Ethiopia, wherever they go around the world, what do they give them? Guns. They give one side the guns, and the other side they give propaganda and hope. And they let one side massacre the other side while they keep the game going on. The game don't change, just the players. You ever ask yourself why Liberia has been in a constant state of war for over 100 years? For about 100 years now? Yet, they've never stopped the production and the pulling and the mining of rubber. How is it that a country could be in constant war for damn near 100 years, but the business of mining the rubber never stops? Ask yourself that question, please. Well, they did the same in the Yamasee War. I keep saying Yamamisi. God damn, that's that dyslexia of my ass keep coming up. They did the same shit in the Yamasee War. Went to the Cherokee, offered them guns and the rights to their land to help them beat these niggas back. And it worked. It worked. Few years later, about 100 years later, they turned them guns on them Cherokees. And then turned around and those niggas who were Cherokees and the long-haired motherfuckers who were Cherokees found a way to write their asses off the Cherokee list and put their own names on it. That's why if you look now, most of your Cherokee nation is white, European. And every few years, they find new ways to kick off the remaining indigenous black people from the Cherokee Nation. Divide and motherfucking conquer. What's up, Stacy Smith? Said, Geechee boy checking in. What up? Somebody says, so now I'm about to start talking to y'all in the chat room. If you want your question pushed to the front, hit me on the Cash App and ask your question. If not, I'm gonna read. If it's that important. If you don't want to hit the Cash App, cool. I'll see if I can get to it in the chat room. But I will not be able to answer every question in the chat room, but I will get to the ones I can answer. Someone says, we need to separate from this European period. How can you, my question is, that sounds good, but how does that happen? How do you separate yourself from cancer? The cancer is already on the planet. You can't separate from it. Can't separate from it. So what do? Yeah, like, share, and subscribe, please. And you know I got my t-shirts. Get these motherfuckers, man. For those of you who don't already have one. And also for those of you music producers out there want some of my live drum sample pack, Go to my link tree in the description bar. Type in the product code FUNK1 FUNK1. Get 20% off my live drum sample pack. When it comes to knowledge, now I agree with that, Rashawn. You as an individual must reconnect with source. That's a real motherfucking comment. And I don't know why my comments are showing up as black. I can't see them on the screen. I'm trying to highlight y'all comments, but for some reason they got the words as black. What the fuck? Let me see if I can change the color of these comments. Let me see if I can do that real quick. Come on. Oh, background. Let me see if I can change the color of these comments. Can y'all see the comment now? Nope. Damn. I'm trying to change the color of these comments so maybe we can see them. I don't know what the fuck going on. I keep hitting the little color thing. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Because these colors keep showing up as black, and I want y'all to be able to see the comments. I want y'all to be able to see the comments. There we go. Okay. There we go. Here, comments are white now. Here we go. Here we go. I still can't quite see. He said, you as an individual must reconnect with the source. It's an individual journey. That's 100. That's what it comes back down to. Knowing yourself. The key to all this shit in life is coming back to knowing yourself. You got to know yourself. I look at knowledge of self as a baseline. Like, for those of you who work in mental health, you know what I'm talking about. For those who don't work in mental health, follow me along. Anytime an advocate, a therapist, a psychiatrist, psychologist, whatever, putting together where you need to be, the only way you can really map the growth is if you have a baseline. You got to have a baseline behavior. And this is where you are right now in your life, your baseline behaviors. This is about the range of extremes you go to when having problems, when this is about your range where you go to when things are going good. You have a baseline. And from that baseline, you could then measure progress. But if you don't have an accurate baseline of where someone is, there's no way to really chart and map progress someone makes throughout their journey in this life game. I look at knowledge of self as a baseline. If you don't know who you are, how do you know when you're on point and when you're not? If you don't know where you come from, how do you know if you're being told the truth? If you don't understand your cultural heritage and history, how do you know what's right and what's wrong? That's why we as black people, they demonize us so easily, saying that our culture is bad, our culture is this, our culture is dirty. They get us with that bullshit. But at the same time, our culture is what moves this society forward. Our culture is what this society profits off of. But they can always tell us our culture ain't shit, black culture is bad, because we have no baseline for what black culture is. Follow what I'm saying? That's why I do broadcasts like this every now and again, to point out our culture, our cultural roots, our cultural connection, who we are as a culture, to give us a baseline. That's why I call out when these others are stealing our culture. Because the main people that steal our culture are the main ones telling us our culture ain't shit. I just got a cash app from someone saying WYD. I don't know how to answer that, brother. But send the cash apps and ask a clear question, and I will definitely answer it. I don't know how to answer a WYD. If you ask me a clear question in a cash app, I'll get right to it. If not, I'll just wait till you guys ask it up in here. Yeah, like for us, you're right, Go Seti. Knowledge of self will put an end to a lot of this BS. Yes, it will. Yes, it will. See, like with us as a culture, the one thing I love about black culture, our culture is, I'm going to toughen you up in the home so you can deal with a tough world out there. That's where all the signifying comes from. The funniest person you know ain't a stand-up comic. It's probably your grandmother or one of your uncles, a cousin. Because we have a culture of no matter what you send our way, nigga, we gonna laugh and dance through it. You can't break us. That's black culture. Now, you get a few coons that sell out here and there, you know what I mean? They work against our greater good. But you always got to remember, that's a selected few. It's only a few of them up there on TV working it out. The rest of us who tie our history back here to the United States of America, we ain't broken. We are not broken. We sleep like a motherfucker, but we ain't broken. We still maintain our culture while the rest of the world sit and watch what we do while they talk shit. I got another cash app from that said WYD. Is something going on with cash app shit? Walter said trying to get at you. Nah, I did not hear Charleston White going on Asians. First of all, who's Charleston White? Knockout Media said, white folks never thanked us at disco. Yeah, right. Hell, white folks ain't thanked us for house music either. We gave them music to bounce around and dance off beat to. Doom, 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 doom. We gave them some fast music to dance off beats to. And these motherfuckers ain't said thank you yet. What's the ballpark range of how many tribes are in America? Thousands. I'm going to tell you that right now, thousands. This is a massive piece of land right here. Now, there were nations, like when you look at the Iroquois Confederacy, that got started in the year 1150 when Hiawatha came up there in the New York area. And, excuse me, that's where that term bury the hatchet comes from. Those nations up in that upper northeast were battling a lot. And they lost a lot of life. And they say, okay, let's not lose this much life again. Let's come together. Let's bury the hatchet and work together. That was in the year 1150 AD. and they signed a peace treaty. They created a constitution. They also created a Senate and a Congress. So when it comes to how this country is run, have you ever asked yourself, why is it this country is run different than all of the other establishments England set up? You know, because Canada, Australia, they have a prime minister parliamentary system that's under the monarchy. The United States is still and always has been under England, just not under the direct monarchy of the prime minister in England. They fought that little war and England gave them an semblance of freedom from England. But why is the United States government run so differently than the rest of the European governments? It's because that Iroquois Confederacy signed in 1150 AD was the form of government that existed in the upper Northeast. Ben Franklin was a regular visitor to those Indigenous Congress meetings in the 1700s. And that Constitution that people love so much was basically a plagiarism in English of their Constitution that they had been running since the year 1150 AD. So we know downright to even our governmental systems were taken from indigenous people. Black people, that is. Yeah, there are pyramids all over Mexico. Hell, it's pyramids all over goddamn St. Louis. Go up and down the Mississippi River. Mississippi River is full of pyramids. But no, they never thanked them. But we don't even need a thank you from them. We need to thank ourselves. Remember, because I've seen a couple of comments, and this isn't to get on anybody who made the comment. But no, we don't need their thanks. We don't. We good. We need to start thanking ourselves. That's what we need to do. We need to start thanking ourselves. We need to start thanking ourselves. That's what we need to do. We don't need their thanks. Because through thanking ourselves, we'll act differently. We'll treat each other differently. We'll see ourselves with more pride and respect. And through seeing ourselves with more pride and respect, others will see us with more pride and respect. That's how it works, people. Going back to the comment someone made earlier, you have to get your self-respect on first. We have to teach others how to treat us. The same way, look, we already teach others how to treat us. We teach them that they can do and say whatever the fuck they want, and we won't fight back. We teach them that every day by not fighting back. We teach them that they can tell us that we came from slavery and we ain't nothing but slaves, and we let it happen. We teach them that they don't have to thank us because we as a whole are going to do what the fuck they say, whether they thank us or not. We've already taught them that. So we can't tell them that they need to then thank us and make us feel a certain way. And no, we already taught them they don't have to. You're already dealing with the rudest people on the planet. They just come up in nations and pieces of land that existed, and people come amongst peaceful people and take their shit through treaty and through disease. You asking that motherfucker to thank you? Let's get real. Let's get real, people. Let's get real. You're right, Kevin. Thank you for the cash app. St. Simmons and Jekyll Island do deserve discussion. But I'm going to tell you something. I've read a little bit of them both, but I ain't read enough to teach on that. One thing I will not do to you is act like I know. I don't do that. I read a lot of shit, and I talk loud and boldly about the shit that I read on, and I have a little bit more than a novice discussion. I have not spent enough time on Jekyll Island to talk confidently about it. I've only read stuff on the internet. I tend to like to have my discussion rooted in something deeper than the internet. I try to have it rooted in books. Like, for those of you who want reference, when I'm talking about our indigenous history, you can reference Dr. Clyde Winters. Dr. Clyde Winters has a series of books that go into detail about Black indigenous roots down there, especially in the Virginia, South Carolina, North Carolina. These Geechee people I'm talking about, I learned a lot of that from Dr. Clyde Winters. Dr. James Imhotep is another one. His books. The First Americans Were Africans. I've gone really deep into a lot of that stuff, but there are other areas that I have not gone that deep into that you guys may be more aware of than I am. And I'm okay with that. I'm not here to be the expert of everything. I'm only someone who knows what I know, but I do not know everything. Read Creature from Jekyll Island, Ivor. Okay, I'll read that. I'll read that. I need to know, because I've heard enough people talk about Jekyll Island, and what I've read online is very interesting. But I need to know a little more to talk confidently on that. Yeah. You're right, Coleman. If we see ourselves with respect, that's what we will get. But we got to see ourselves that way first, and that's what some of Kwame is leading to. Now, I do want to hit the brakes a little bit. You know what I mean? I love what Kwame Brown is saying. I do. Y'all see, I'm a fan because he's saying a lot of things, especially about basketball, that I've observed for a long time. The shit he said about Stephen A. Smith, on point. Been saying for a long time. I'm with all that. But I also see our brother is very conservative. And I don't have any issues with conservatives because, hell, like I've said before, Black people traditionally, historically, are conservatives. We are a conservative group of people. But we also see our brother Kwame quoting Larry Elder. And I told y'all heard my story about Larry Elder yesterday, how I've even used Larry Elder to help me out. But I want to throw a caution out there, and the caution is this. He may have some points of views politically that are far out of alignment with the element of black society who demands reparations and talks about white supremacy. I don't want people to lose focus on the overall thing of what he's talking about, because we may have differences politically. At the same time, I don't want people to go in and, like I say before, there are no perfect messengers, only perfect messages. You never buy into the person. You get into the message. Yeah, he talks about Thomas Sowell, but even those people that are useful tools for the other side, like Thomas Sowell. Thomas Sowell says some great things, but he only talks about, he's very limited in his discussion. Very, very limited. And when you don't throw in all, it's math. In math, the only way you get the answer, an accurate answer, is if you throw all elements into the discussion. Yes, we do need to talk about black on black crime. And I hate using that term. But I know some people, someone I know online, they goddamn kid got murdered over who wasn't even part of that life. Over a discussion that went wrong. That's not cool. I know 2 people so far this year in 2021 who's lost a child to murder. I'm not against having these discussions. We got to clean our shit up. I'm with that. But the only way I'm going to have that discussion with you is if you're able to factor that in with the system of white supremacy and how they bake into the cake through economics, through laws, politics, all 9 areas of activity, as Neely Fuller says, how they bake into the cake this style behavior. We have to talk about both, because that's where you come to truth. You can't say, what about black on black crime? You can't say, what about Chicago? Without adding in the element of the system of white supremacy. You can't say, I don't want to hear about, and this is with love. Because I've been watching Kwame's videos for about a year now. I don't know if y'all know, about a year and a half ago, right around the time Kobe died, that's when I first got aware of that Kwame had something on his mind to say. He went in on people that was bringing his name up with Kobe's death. And I got to see how that man, okay, this is a thinking man right here. So I've been low-key following him for a long time. And I said, okay, this is a thinking man. He conservative like a motherfucker, but he a thinking man. And I like how he went at Skip Bayless and Rachel Nichols, because those are 2 degenerates that ain't got shit to say about nothing black folks do. Rachel Nichols is a degenerate cave bitch, always clowning black male athletes. Glad he went in on her. Skip Bayless is a leatherneck Sorry, pale-faced motherfucker. I've never liked him. But we're not about to talk about, I don't want to hear about the white man when discussing black issues. No, we're going to hear about both. We're going to talk about how you dumb, sorry motherfuckers need to stop shooting each other, and how when you see another black man, you need to treat that black man with respect. But why don't that black man treat, I deal with the why. Why don't black people treat one another with respect on the streets? The why generally ties back to lack of knowledge of self. When you don't know who you are and you allow your enemy to tell you who you are, you're not going to see value in yourself, and you're not going to see value in another black man. So the black folks killing black folks problem comes from the lack of value one sees in oneself and those who look like them. That's why I spend so much time teaching who we are and where we come from. So you'll hear black folks say that, what that black person do, all they do is talk. Well, God damn it, the reason why people talk is because most of the people, that's all them white folks do, but they just talk and tell you a bunch of lies. You need people out here talking, telling you the truth. You just like you need, because the person that can work, the person talking is the one that's going to send the kid to the person that can teach them a trade. Because I don't know about y'all, most people I know who are really good at a trade, they ain't that good at talking. See how that works? Yin-yang philosophy, we can work together. That's really what working together is. When they say we need to come together, no, we ain't about to have no we need to come together. We Are the World song singing with Michael Jackson and Lionel Richie and Cyndi Lauper and Sting. We are the world. We are the children. Ain't gonna be Ray Charles in the room. Let me sing it now. Quincy Jones ain't gonna conduct this. We're not gonna have a We Are the World come together meeting. Coming together is coming together and matching skill sets. The good plumber, the good electrician, the good woods worker, most of them cats is kind of quiet and don't really do the best vocalizing. So they need a loudmouth motherfucker next to them to get people to go their direction so they can teach them. See how that works? Everybody has a role. I like hearing Kwame talk about, black folks coming together and taking advantage of what's out there. I like that. I love that. But we got to always stay caution to when people try to say blame the white man. No one's blaming anybody. When we talk about the white man, that's adding his part into the equation. If we are in an algebra test and the test is 2x minus 7y equals 42, well, how are we going to answer? See, black people are X. How are we going to get the answer for Y, white folks, if we don't throw it in there? You're not going to get the answer to 2x minus 7y equals 23 unless you solve for X and you solve for Y. Right? Is that not what they tell us in math? You solve each variable. If you only solve one of the variables and not all of the variables, will you get the right answer? No. So bringing up the white man isn't complaining. It's not. It's literally not complaining. It's throwing that factor in. And let me tell you something about this. As a person who's been on the streets working with children for well over 25 years, I remember the years I worked with kids before I understood that white factor. Because like Neely Fuller says, if you don't understand white supremacy and racism, everything else you think you understand will only confuse you. And I remember how difficult it was being out there on the front lines working with children and trying to give them answers and not understanding the white supremacy factor. I remember kids and asking questions. I remember I remember going into depression. I was in a deep depression 2014, 2013, 2000. I was in deep depression. Did not know it. 2012. I got season 6 of the Clipper game. Going to the Hollywood Bowl with my wife all summer. Going to the best parties LA had. I was always the dude, well not always, from my mid-20s on, I could walk to the front of the line right here in Hollywood, get in any club I wanted to go to, never wait in line, never pay to get in, get free drinks because I was down with a lot of the bartenders all up and down Sunset, Hollywood Boulevard. I could doing all that shit. Depressed as hell. Because in my real job, in my real life, I work with these kids in South Central LA. And these kids got questions I ain't got answers to. And I'm over here trying to figure it out. Every time I get a solution that can help some of these kids I work with, my job changed programs and be like, nah, you can't do that no more. Or if I'm doing this independently, like for the kids that I mentored away from my job, oh no, that school, now the school all of a sudden stops you from coming. Oh, now it's like no matter, every time we got to a point to where we can have a breakthrough on a larger level, or you go in, you got something that you know is effective and it works, and now you want to go ahead and get funding to do it on a larger level, can't get the funding. Every time I do you know how hard it is I'm in South Central LA trying to put these black kids in programs to keep them up off the streets. And every time I found an effective program, now if it's a program where they just doodle their name in the sand and they just sit around and feed them graham crackers and do nothing with them all day, that program stayed funded. That program kept getting money. But when I found the program that taught them how to code or taught them how to do things worth the land, those programs always seem to lose funding the minute they get effective. I would be down here working with these kids. Most of these non-public schools ain't shit. Then you'll find the non-public school that's actually raising the confidence of these black boys. Oh, they lost their funding. Then the charter school thing started getting big. Charter school, you get all these black kids in the charter school. They working with the kids. I remember I had one kid who went to Obama Middle School here in Obama Middle School is over here on Western near Vernon, here in LA. On Western near Vernon is Obama Middle School. Kid was felon. I put him in a charter school over off Crenshaw. Kid went from felon to A's. I went back that next year to enroll another kid in that school. School lost its charter. I was depressed, my nig. Oh, then I found out who this prophetic man named Neely Fuller was. I'm on YouTube, and I saw the dude that had them hip-hop cartoons. And it was these cartoons about this Neely Fuller. Like, who's this Neely Fuller dude? Man, we talking like 2013-ish, sometime around there. I'm like, who is Neely Fuller? And then I found that, hold on, this dude's still alive? And I started listening to his interviews. And then I had already seen Hidden Colors by then, so I saw what was going on in the school system. But when I got a hold of Neely Fuller Jr., and I got to understand the system of white supremacy, how it works, how it operates, I was then able to pull myself up out of depression because I saw that I wasn't crazy. I saw that I wasn't going insane. I saw that I wasn't fucking drunk. I saw that there was a system in play. And once I understood the system, I was able to help the kids that I work with better, and I was able to help myself better. Because now I'm no longer depressed thinking that I'm failing. Working with these kids, giving my heart and my soul, I'm no longer walking away feeling like a failure. I understand how the system works. And now I know how to separate myself from the result of the work that I put in. So you're not going to tell me not to put in all of the factors when we talk about solving the issues. Don't ever tell me what you don't want to hear about. Nigga, I want to hear about it all. Let's throw in the immigration factor. Let's throw in the factor of Black Americans, people classified as Black, who don't share our Black American experience because they came within the last 50 years. Let's throw in that factor. See, math is all about throwing in all the factors and telling the truth. Yeah, I saw Francis Cress Welsing off that Baby Boy entrance. I found out, I first saw Francis Cress Welsing watching Donahue with my grandmother back in the day. But I was young as hell. I was like 10. I didn't know what the fuck I was watching. But yeah, you got to put all of the factors in the pot if you want truth and accuracy. What else what y'all talking about here in the chat room? What y'all talking about? The fuck y'all talking about? Do I think as Black people we should stop profiting off putting? I think Black people. Only thing I'm gonna say Black people need to stop doing is stop listening to white people. Everything else, we need to get better at it. Stop listening. Stop being paid. Yeah, but how can I, tell some, I think we need to stop. I think the only way people are going to stop getting paid to profit off our trauma is if we stop listening. How about that? How about we just stop listening to them and giving them energy? Call them out every now and again. Like, call out Roland Martin and these people like this. Call them out. But outside of that, don't pay attention to them. Yeah, Willie Beeman, we have to tell our own stories. We have to tell our own stories. I appreciate that. Love the content. I appreciate that. We have to tell our own stories. Yeah, Buffalo got a lot of black history. Shit, yeah, Buffalo got a lot of black history. Buffalo is where Rick James is from. Shit, that's black history within and of itself. Rick James and the Stone City Band. Yeah, I reached out to Judge. Me and Judge Joe Brown, we're gonna do an interview sometime soon. Hopefully Saturday. I'm not telling you exactly when because I gotta hit him up Saturday morning to see if he still has the time. Hopefully Saturday, but if not Saturday, sometime next week or the week after. We're gonna talk to Judge Joe Brown because he's been in communication with Kwame. And I want to hear a little bit of what he has to say because I am all the way down with their message of real manhood. I'm all the way down with that. We're going to talk about that. What are my thoughts on the group? My thoughts that group the group of black folks that bought that land. I think that's a good thing. I just hope that, they can sustain it and get their finances because one thing about us as black folks, we've bought large plots of lands hundreds of thousands of times over in this country. The problem has always been sustainability. The USDA basically admitted a few years ago selling black farmland bad seeds that they knew they wouldn't grow. Forcing black people lost over 100 million acres of farmland, and the USDA basically took blame for it. That's why I don't listen to niggas telling me, don't tell me what the white man is doing. Just because you can't see what's going on don't mean it ain't happening. Do you see the end? Do you see the wind? What's up, Bossa Queen? That's true. Like, think about this. A lot of times people like to go on, well, what do you see, white folks? What do you see? What do you see? Look, man, think about this. Our eyes only see 7 colors. Our ears only hear 7 octaves. That's why you can blow into a dog whistle and that dog hear it and not your black ass. Cats see colors on the spectrum that we can't see. That's why sometimes cats have a certain look about them. Looking at something that we can't see. We don't see it all. Think about the wind. How important is the wind? The wind carries oxygen to us. It carries the carbon monoxide out of us that feeds the trees, the carbon dioxide. It shapes the trees. It lifts the airplanes. Oxygen. Think about oxygen. Have you ever seen oxygen? Oxygen could be in the form of wind. It could be in the form of ice. It could be in the form of water. It could be in the form of vapor. Do you see these things? No. But are they essential to life? Yes. So just because you don't see the fuckery going on, don't mean the fuckery ain't happening and it has real life consequences and effects on people. Don't ever tell me what you don't see the white man doing. Duh. That's the most sneaky, cunning, obvious man on earth. You're not going to see what he's doing. Now, I still agree with the fact that in spite of what he's doing, niggas need to still be on top of their P's and Q's. I told y'all on my last show about how, as much as I can't stand Larry Elder, I'm always going to give Larry Elder credit because my mom used to listen to him when I was on the way to school. On the way home from school, back when I was in middle school. And he always talked about winning in spite of racism. Yes, it exists, but you still got to win. And at the time, in middle school, was my first time ever interacting with white people because I grew up in South Central LA. The only white person that we knew was the insurance man. Mitch used to come by and collect my grandparents' insurance. It was my parent. It was a white man named Mitch for Allstate Insurance back in the 1980s. He used to come by the house and pick up my grandparents' insurance check. When they pay their insurance twice a year, when they pay the premium. And my grandfather used to see him walking through the gate and be like, Mitch the bitch. Now, how old black folks talk shit. And then be like, as soon as Mitch get to the door, how you doing, Mitch? Mitch, sir? How you doing, Mitch? Come on inside. My check right here. As soon as Mitch turned around, Mitch the bitch. That old bitch. Mitch. Now, this is the same grandfather who used to call me the fat motherfucker when I was a kid. The big unit. Then my uncle had married a woman who was really big. As soon as she get out of the car, he'd be like, God damn, that's a fat woman right there. Look at her. You know how old black men talk. Look at her. Goddamn, whole left side of the car leaning because her big fat ass getting in and out the car. Shit. It take her 20 minutes to get out that car and walk to the front porch. She's so goddamn fat. Take her about 20 minutes to squeeze out that car and get her fat ass on his porch. As soon as my aunt would get to the porch, hi, how you doing, daughter-in-law? Hey, it's good seeing you. Where my grandbabies? You got my grandbabies? Salute to Poppy, 97 years old. And he's 97 years old now and still talking that kind of shit. I'm telling stories from 30 years ago. He's still alive, talking that same shit. But I said that to say Mitch was the only white person that I'd ever come across. Nigga, I'm from South Central. Wasn't no goddamn white people in South Central. I first started being around them in middle school. And I went to Overripe Middle School. And my mom would play Larry Elder, and Larry Elder would be like, you got to win anyway. That's what I took. Again, that goes back into taking the meat off what someone is saying and spitting the bones out. All that shit Larry Elder talk about racism, because he was a fork-tongued bitch too. Because on one hand, he be saying racism don't exist. On the other hand, he's saying win in spite of racism. Larry Elder has that kind of mind. So, you want to talk to me about Larry Elder? I'm somebody who actually listened to his goddamn show for years. And I don't agree with most of what he said. But I was able to take the meat off of what he said. The meat of winning regardless of what you're dealing with. I'm with that. And now that I understand white supremacy as well as I do, when I teach the kids, I can now teach them to win regardless. I can teach them to get a trade. But I can do that and still explain to them the system of white supremacy. Because when I explain to them the system of white supremacy and reveal it to them and unveil it to them, they're then able to see where future pitfalls may be and how in their action. That's why you talk about white supremacy. Not to complain. Not to say that's the reason why my life sucks. No, it's to explain the reason why you see the difference in outcomes based on color in this country, and also explain how, in spite of that system, now that you're aware of it, you can win. Yeah. So, yeah. I kind of see our brother Kwame making that turn, making that pivot. I have no doubts within the next 6 months, he's probably going to be talking about black and brown, all minorities need to come together, and that stuff too. And that's where I'll disagree with him. I'm pretty sure he'll be saying pretty soon that we don't need reparations. And I will disagree with him on that particular topic. I'm sure pretty soon he's going to say, we just need to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. It don't matter what racism is doing. I'll disagree with him on that. But I'm not going to throw the man away. And I'm not going to not seriously consider the points that he make that are accurate about how black men are treated and covered. That boy went in on Oprah yesterday. He talked about Oprah, talked about Angela Rye. Yeah. I'm with all that. Just talk about the white folks that put a battery in their back. You went to Raymond Ave Elementary? My mom went to Raymond Ave. Let's see here. Who the hell? Yeah. Real talk, Robbie. We don't need Kwame to be Malcolm X. We don't. Black people, we've had enough Malcolm X's. Hell, we don't listen to the real Malcolm X. If you think about it, a lot of black folks like to talk about who Malcolm X this, Malcolm X that. Got a Malcolm X picture on your wall? How many times you actually apply what the hell Malcolm X said? You got people that talk about Malcolm X and then turn around and vote Democrat every 2 years because our ancestors died for it. Nigga, didn't Malcolm X tell you about the liberal? How that liberal snake is a wolf? How he's a snake? Just like the other one? Malcolm X told you about that. And you got niggas running around talking about Malcolm X this, Malcolm X that. But they'll still turn around and say, I need to vote for the Democrats. And I don't care what they did. We just gonna vote blue now. Malcolm X. Nigga, you didn't even listen to him. Malcolm X was alive now, y'all be calling him a hotep. I say, how about we apply what Malcolm X said? Hell, we ain't even halfway started to apply what Marcus Garvey said. Hell, we ain't even listened to Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass told us 170 goddamn years ago, immigration ain't good for your black ass. Immigration's only used to displace your black ass. And what do niggas do? We gonna vote so we can get more 12 million new immigrants in. Then want to say you want a new black leader. Nigga, listen to the old black leaders first. Apply what they said. Because ain't no leader that's going to come around now going to say something that Frederick Douglass, Marcus Garvey didn't say. They ain't going to say nothing that Fannie Lou Hamer didn't say. They ain't going to say nothing that Ida B. Wells, Martin Luther King, Stokely Carmichael, Ralph. I was about to say Ralph Bunch, but he kind of cooned it out a little bit. Huey Newton, Bunchy Carter. A new leader ain't gonna say nothing these brothers didn't say. Plus, on top of now, what the fuck you even looking for a leader for anyway? The code is the leadership. The code of conduct is the leadership. You know, if you're going to go to church with your grandmother, do your grandmother got to tell you anything? If your grandmother's not alive, you remember when she was alive? When you were going to church with your grandmother, did she have to tell you how to walk, talk, and dress? No, you already understood that code of conduct. You understood that. You understood that code of conduct. You understand the code of conduct at work. It could be a brand new job. You know how to walk, talk, and dress. The code of conduct is the leadership. The code of conduct is the leadership. That's why we don't get caught up in personalities. Again, salute to Kwame. But those of us who listen to what the brother Tariq Nasheed say, what the Black Channel say, he ain't saying nothing that we ain't been on for 10 years now. That's why I got respect for cats like the Black Channel and brothers like Tariq, because they will say what needs to be said. They'll say what needs to be said about Black people, but then they'll also give solutions and talk. When they talk about white supremacy, that's why you can't group all people who talk about white supremacy in together, because your woke crowd, I call the woke people Charlamagne the God, Angela Rye, that whole what's that, Black Lives Matter, that organization, Tamika Mallory, that woke crowd. They'll cry and complain about white supremacy, but not give solutions. And at the same time, they won't give Black people a plan. So I get people like like Kwame Brown going at them, but you can't conflate that crowd with the B1 crowd. The B1 crowd is all about the solutions and talking about white supremacy. The code of conduct is the leadership. Salute to Kwame for shouting out Dr. Claude Anderson. Look at this lying motherfucker here in the chat. Hey, I'm gonna put this comment on the screen right here. Corin Stevens says, there is no society or civilization where their code of conduct was the leadership in history of mankind. Okay, if that's true, who's the leader of white supremacy in the United States? Who's the leader of white supremacy globally? Who's the leader of white supremacy in England, in Germany, in Argentina, in Mexico? Name them. Name them. White supremacy is a code of conduct, fool. That's why the leaders can change and the behavior remains the same. Because anyone anointed with a leadership position within these white supremacist nations are on code with white supremacy, including Barack Obama. Jay Scott said they hate that. Yeah, your fingers is greasy, nigga. You have butter biscuits when you type that. Maybe your thumb slipped. This person literally said there's never been a nation that thrives on a code of conduct while living in the United States. Everything is a code. Who's the code of the Masons? I mean, who's the leader of the Masons? Or is their code the leadership? Who's the leader of the Skull and Bones Society? Or is their code the leadership? Oh, now this person's all confused. See, I thought you would need about 2 more statements before I tied you into a verbal knot, but I tied you into a knot on your second statement. He said that they clearly have leaders. Who? Well, I said name the leaders. See, that's the thing. When you got somebody, you just tell them to name it. And when they can't name it, they just start talking in circles. Well, they clearly have leaders. Okay, who? Because if I say the Lakers have leaders, okay, Jeannie Buss owns the Lakers. Frank Vogel is the coach. LeBron James is the floor leader. You see how I was able to do that? That's why when a basketball team loses a coach or loses a star player, everything about that team changes. It's a new system that's going to come in. It's going to be a new way of scoring, a new way of playing defense. Everything about it is going to be new. Because there's no code. There's a code to play games, but there's no, each coach carries their own code on how to win a game. And when the coaches change, how the game is played is changed with each new coach, with each new team leader. When it comes to the system of white supremacy, the game stays the same. They don't change how they play this shit. It's just somebody new saying the words. What's the code? White on top, black on bottom. And everyone in between as a buffer to make sure it stays that way. That code stays in place no matter who the leadership is. That right there is clear evidence you're dealing with a code, not an individual or group of leaders. It's the reason why white supremacy operates the same in Argentina that it does in Brazil, that it does in Nigeria, that it does in Germany, the Netherlands, Canada. The code is the leadership. Oh, someone just bought the book. Thank you, thank you, thank you. No time to waste. My self-motivation guidebook. Get it right now. Link is in the description bar. It's only $8.88, people. How to motivate yourself to be the best of yourself and find your goals from within. That's what the book is about. You see how easy it is, the people that tell you, all you got to do is ask a few. If you want to know the truth, just ask a few questions and then move on. I appreciate the Cash App, Ladarian. No, Corn, I'm not acting. You're acting like you're stupid. I'm not going to call you stupid. I don't think you're stupid. But you're acting like that right now. See, that's nothing people do when you write. They then start throwing in a whole bunch of stuff you did not say. Who said I didn't act like it exists with a hierarchy? Go back and look at my last videos before you run your goddamn mouth. I did a whole video on how white supremacy as a hierarchy, and how it's on this. You can measure white supremacy the same way you measure the feudalist system in England. I did a full broadcast along with pictures and slides of how white supremacy is the same as feudalism in England. It's a social hierarchy. That's a different topic. But you came in running your mouth, trying to act like you know every goddamn thing. Now you just throwing shit against the wall and addressing stuff that I've had whole 2-hour-long broadcasts breaking down. So how about you stop acting stupid? I'm not calling you stupid now. I don't think you're stupid. But how about you stop acting stupid? Go back and watch some videos and learn something. You dig? You're right about that, Norris-son. Who's leader of the Asian community who got that anti-Asian hate bill passed? You're right. There was no leader of the Asian community that got that bill passed. Their code got that passed. That Asian code of conduct. Yes, Tasha, please time him out. I think that person's had enough attention. Some people don't know when they lost when they lost. When you have to jump to a whole nother something else someone didn't even bring up, that means you lost. Your point of view was challenged and debunked. Understand when that's happened and quiet down or get timed out. Because no one's going to take over this chat room. I will answer some questions. I will discuss and have a back and forth with you. But you ain't about to take nothing over when I done already dispelled what you said. You're not going to keep bringing up different things that weren't said. Throwing that into the pot, that's what I call, that's a non-factor. Let's tie this all in before I leave. How about that? Factors and non-factors. Factor and non-factor. A non-factor is when one is talking and they bring up things, or if you're in a group and they bring in things that weren't part of the discussion. They bring in elements that are irrelevant to the solutions within a discussion. We're talking about code of conduct. Now here comes someone talking about, well, you didn't mention hierarchy now. Whenever you're talking about a particular subject, you have to stay on that subject. You can't bring in everything all at once, or you'll never finish the conversation. Conversations need a level of intelligence to where when a person is talking about something, you can add the missing pieces in yourself because you're an intelligent individual. If you can't add these pieces in yourself, you may be confused. So the person that you're talking to answers that, and then you straighten up and be like, oh, okay, that's what it is. If you keep fighting it and fighting it and fighting it and fighting it, that means one of two things. Either you're too stupid to understand, or you don't want to understand. And I'm going to lean towards the latter. Most people aren't stupid. Most people just don't want it. Most people don't want new information. They don't want to understand your perspective. They just want to be heard and get attention. These are non-factors. Factors, when we're talking about solutions like black poverty, black on black crime, quote unquote, black fourth grade reading level, throwing in white supremacy is a factor. Because white supremacy put together, they used their scholars, their smartest of smarts people, on how to use the school as a pipeline to prison. How to identify a potential prisoner by the first grade. Appreciate the Cash App, Julian. That's a factor because they've used Harvard, Columbia University, UCLA, Berkeley, or whatever school, University of Chicago, you name the school, to put together a plan to hurt children as young as 6, to identify them by as young as 6 as prisoners. That factor has to be talked about. Because the quote unquote black on black crime, when a black person shoots another black person over some simple shit as a 15-year-old, as a 25-year-old, that crime started when that child was in utero. And because mom stayed on the black side of town, she got chemicals put inside of her body to harm that child's development. That crime started when that black person got herded into a ghetto. Mama worked a full-time job, daddy was present, or if he wasn't present, he was sending child support. And mom worked so hard, she should have had a job that could put her in a decent neighborhood. But because of the color of her skin, she was redlined into the neighborhood she was put in. Forced to work these crazy hours so that child has to go to school and walk himself to school, past 3 or 4 different gangs. Forced to join one of those gangs for protection. Because if I don't walk with my crew to school, if I walk as an individual, I might get fucked up. That crime happened when that boy was 12. And the school said, we're going to sit you down at this desk and not teach you a trade. We're going to sit you down at this desk and not help you get outside and expend some of that energy. We talk about these crimes that happen within black society start at birth. So the only way we're going to fix these crimes is to go back to the root cause. Because I'm going to tell you something, for people out there listening, if you're a conservative listening to the show for the first time, if you're one of those what about black on black crime people, I'm going to tell you something. Come to LA and go to Ladera Heights, View Park, go around black people with money in Lamert Park. Guess what you don't have? Crime. Because you're dealing with people who have resources. And when black people have resources, and you can look this up in the Kerner Commission report, you can look this up online, in the Moynihan report too. When black people are adequately resourced, we don't commit crime. Since a lot of you niggas you don't want to hear a hotep like me say it, go read the white man say it. when we have resources, when we know who we are, we don't commit crimes. Remember that. Remember that. Time that person out again. If they didn't get the lesson the first time, teach them that lesson one more time. Maybe they'll get it. We're not about to have a discussion in this chat room over hierarchy. When a person could just go back and look at one of my last videos I did on the hierarchy of racism and get their questions answered. No, Nicole James. Nicole James said rappers got hella money and they're killing each other. No, they don't. No, rappers really don't. I'm going to tell you the honest truth. No, rappers do not have plenty of money. What they're showing you is a front. They're showing you part of their advance. Money that they will probably never recoup. They're showing you the advance. They don't have money like that. That money that you see, yeah, I'm including Pop Smoking King Von. What you see right there is loan money. Thank you, Jamal Patterson. You said it just as I said it. I just saw you type that. That's loan money. That's like you going down to the bank and saying, I need a loan for a house, them give you that check, and instead of putting it on the house, before you put it on the house, you cash it out, and you show everybody on camera, look at my cash, look at my cash, look at my cash. But guess what that loan money comes from? Where it has to go to? That loan money has to pay the sound engineer, it has to pay the production, it has to pay the advertisement of your record, it has to pay, you got to pay all of these DJs, because if you're going to have a top 10 hit, that means you're dropping at least $200,000 once a month to have your song in the top 10. Because they no longer play what's hot. They play with who got the money to drop. That's what we're saying. These niggas ain't got no money. And most of that money they're never going to pay back through their sales. You got it? Got it? Our rappers do not have money. They have advances. And plus, even if they do have money, when you knew the money don't change your mindset. You gotta realize, they give these large advances to these niggas with nigga mindsets. They're not giving them big ass advances to people who rapping about some real shit, got their head on straight. Hell nah. Shit, Nipsey didn't get his big deal till 15 years in the game. If a nigga mindset signed that contract, nigga shit's going to ensue. And that's a fact. No, I wouldn't even say rappers have more money than the average Joe. No, that's front money that lasts like 2 years. That money you see lasts like 2 years, maybe 3. Now the exception of the exception of the exception, when you think about Snoop, when you think about Ice Cube and Jay-Z and their money, you gotta realize they're the exception of the exception of the exception. Rapper ain't got no goddamn money unless he did at least 5 albums. And like I said before, money don't change nothing. Money don't change a damn thing. If you got a nigga mindset going into signing that contract, you're going to have a nigga mindset after signing that contract. You're right, Nicole, they're all puppets. But remember, I'm about to get up out of here. We're going to have Craig Facts today. Craig Facts is going to be at 5 o'clock today in that other studio. We're not going to be in the main studio with Brown. We're going to be in that other studio, 5 o'clock today. Get in on that. Remember this. There are no perfect messengers. Only perfect messages for those who are willing to listen. Get my sample packs. Get my book. All right? My name is Dwan. I'm out.